If you're interested in this little unit, there's some things that are not documented in the manual and that have really probably not been shared in some other videos. I've looked all over, and these are some of the things that I haven't seen in other videos, and for sure were not documented in the manual when I last checked. So let me share with you a few of the things that I've learned in my experience with this little guy. I guess what I'm noticing now, I've never been a Fender guy, so this is just a recent thing that I've gotten into Fender products more and reading Fender manuals. And there are some things that they just kind of don't say in the manual. And I think they do that on purpose, because these are digital products, and so I guess they want to stay flexible in case they update firmware or make changes or things like that. One thing that really impressed me, and that's not documented in the manual, that I experienced was that this guy was able to run a 96 kilohertz session that I had in my computer. So I used my Apollo Solo or Apogee Duet 3 session that I did a while back, and I was just opened it up and I was just curious to check this out. I wanted to just put in another track, just messing around. This guy opened it up well. I was surprised by that, and it's not really documented that this thing supports 96 kilohertz or 192. I haven't tested with the 192, but it does, in experience and proof, I have proof, you know, this thing does open up a 96 kilohertz session and lays tracks. It doesn't warp the audio or just, you know, pitch, tune, or do any funky stuff with the audio. It actually works great. It works great. So that's one thing. Another thing that I came across that's really not entirely documented is that the global EQ of this guy affects your tone. Now, it does say that in the manual. It does say that the global EQ affects your tone. What it did not say in the manual, and what I learned, is that the global EQ actually changes your tone and gets captured via the USB if you're recording. So it will adjust the overall EQ of your track that you're recording, you know, into the waveform, into the recorded sound sample, or into your recorded sound that you're putting onto your track. Now, the way I came across this was that I had a setting, and you know, I liked it. It was the bass, the middle, the treble were good, more or less. But the top end just was sounding like it was shaved off or something, or a little compressed, or just a little flat, which it was. I was using the flat setting, and which sounded pretty good and neutral for recording purposes. I'm not trying to bass boost for sure. I'm not trying to roll off too many lows either. It's a fine balance. But the top end just needed that extra little air or little clarity. No matter how much I pushed the presence or the treble, it just wasn't making a difference. So I started to think about how can I do this instead of doing it post. I want to do it in the track. I'm just trying to be a fan of more committing what you want and work less in the mix. And lo and behold, the actual EQ setting on here, I switched it to treble instead of flat. I switched it to treble boost 1, and the track, you know, came to life. I'm not saying it's going to work the best or the great, depends on what you're doing, but I just want to make sure that folks understand that this thing does get captured via the USB. The overall global EQ will get captured via the USB into the track that you're recording. Now, the other thing about that, in my experience, is that the global EQ change does not affect the streaming track on like Apple Music or Spotify. If you're streaming something through Bluetooth into your ear, whatever earbuds or headphones are coming out of this thing, it will not affect the track. It only affects your direct tone, direct monitoring, or direct guitar tone of the unit, right? So whatever model you're using. It will not change the actual, it will not low cut the music or back jam track that you're playing along to. Another thing that's not clearly documented, and I guess one thing for people to know about this guy, is that you can't turn off direct monitoring, at least in my experience. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've been looking for it, and I don't see a way to turn off direct monitoring when I'm recording with this guy. This thing would be so much more awesome if I could just get rid of the direct monitoring at times and just hear the software playback. Since you can't mute the direct monitoring, what this does is it causes that little bit of chorusing or hearing two double signals, right? So the workaround is you got to mute the track that you're recording on, which is not great when you're trying to do a punch in or work on a piece and you need to hear like the first 2 bars of the track you're recording onto to hear the lead up pre-roll before punching in, right? Yeah, so that's not great. If that little fix could be added in a firmware update or a app update, whatever, I guess it's a firmware update, right? Because this is the unit and it probably needs the actual firmware update and the app's not going to change. That little change would be great in this guy, but I just want to put that out there. It's not clearly documented in the manual and not really talked about much. People, other videos I've seen, they talk about recording, they don't touch on that fact. The USB cable is so low latency on this thing now these days, and these products are so much better than older interfaces. If there was a way to toggle the direct monitoring off on this guy, that would be awesome, but you cannot do that right now as far as I understand and as far as I've seen, and everything that I've looked at, can't find a way to do it. Another thing I wanted to mention is the Bluetooth on this little guy. Another YouTube viewer had commented on my last video. If you haven't seen that video, check that out. I'll link it there. What they had asked was if the Bluetooth is able to turn off. Now, the manual says that you can hold the Bluetooth in the up position and it'll go blue for a couple of seconds, and then it'll flash to try and pair like this. And then if it doesn't pair with your phone, right, and then it stops flashing and it stops trying to connect. However, that doesn't mean that the Bluetooth is actually off. And you can actually go to your phone and just click connect, and it will, as long as this unit is in the on position at the minimum, it will connect to the Bluetooth device and pair. So there really is no way to leave the Bluetooth off and stop being able to be discovered. So I did want to put that out there, as the viewer mentioned. If you have concerns with Bluetooth security or access to this thing, or safety concerns with Bluetooth and other signals in the environment, whatever, valid concerns, we're all kind of moving through life and things get discovered along the way about technology and impacts to health. So just want to put that out there. If you are concerned about Bluetooth or something, there is no way at this time to turn off the Bluetooth entirely. It is kind of active, right? But I don't mind it, and I don't think it's a big deal. I may be wrong. We'll all find out in the future, right? Anyways, wanted to share that one. Overall, I hope you guys found this video to be awesome. Click like, click subscribe. Check out my other videos when you have a chance, and take it easy.